let's talk about Berserk.
On July 11th, 1966, Kentaro Miura was born. Miura was an absolute powerhouse in the manga industry, creating his first published manga at the age of 10. When I was 10, I puked in a book fair. We're not the same, Miura. On 1989, Miura created his magnum opus, Berserk, which was first published on Animal House Monthly, later changed to Young Animal.
Oh boy, I can't wait to read this latest chapter of Berserk. Such an emotional and action-packed story, all at the tip of my fingers.
Since then, Berserk has become a sensation across the world, getting its own anime series, a set of video games, movies, merchandise, and an art gallery purely for Berserk. Berserk has caused the creation of many forms of media being heavily inspired by it. Anytime you see a character swinging around a big old hunk of metal, just think this 6-foot-tall depression stick.
Okay, so I just bought the deluxe edition of Berserk, which has the first 3 volumes in it. So let's see what the hype is really about. All right, page 1. Well, that was a terrible idea, so let's watch the anime instead.
With 25 episodes, Berserk 97, animated by Studio OLM, mainly covers the second arc, being the Golden Age. The most iconic arc of Berserk, like Pokemon and the Kanto region, or Square Enix and Final Fantasy VII. They just never shut up about it! The first episode covers the beginning of the Black Swordsmen arc. Now when I say beginning, I mean just the beginning. Berserk's OP, Tell Me Why, is one of those so bad it's good songs. Like, you hear the beginning and you're on the verge of shotgunning your ears out, with lyrics like, feel no shame about shape, weather changes their phrase, even mother will show you another way. What does that even mean, pen pals?
But then you hear the chorus and you're just like, tell me why, tell me why, tell me what you want.
We start off with a blacksmith making a sword for this dude here in the back who looks like he's in every metal band ever. In a town bar not too far off, some rowdy bandits show up and harass this girl named Colette. Oh god, no. For 2 very uncomfortable minutes, the bandits bully Colette. But then... the man from earlier kills them all but leaves one alive. He tells him to let their leader know that the Black Swordsman has arrived to take his head. The bandit goes to his leader and relays the message.
I love to hear humans scream as they burn and the sound of cracking bones.
Odd hobby, but whatever relieves your stress, man.
Not long after, the leader and his men go around killing everyone and burning down the kingdom. The Black Swordsman arrives, kills the soldiers, and prepares to fight the leader of the group. Before they engage, the swordsman notices that the leader has a charm called a baylet around his neck. The fight begins, and halfway through, the leader is revealed to be a snake demon known as an apostle. He was a demon? Could've fooled me. The fight becomes significantly harder for our knockoff Doom guy, but thanks to the power of G Fuel, the Black Swordsman does what many would call a pro gamer move.
I can't tell if he's in pain or if he enjoyed that.
The demon eventually dies. The Black Swordsman grabs the baylet and walks away into the burning ring of fire. The episode ends with the beginning of his past during the Golden Age. Enter Guts, the eternal struggler.
Now, before we continue, there was a lot that was cut out from the manga.
The sex scene in the very beginning, Guts meeting the fairy Puck, who was replaced with Colette, Guts going to jail and being tortured, and the entire 3 volumes of Berserk with the Count. At the age of 13, Guts is a lone mercenary participating in battles for money. His assignment is to kill the Grey Knight, the Bear Slayer, the 30-man killer, Dad of the Year, 3-time Brazilian golf champion, Bezusso.
I see you've got some balls.
Oh.
Guts manages to spill Bezusso's Kool-Aid and earn his reward. The captain who hired him asks if he'd like to join his group, and when he touches Guts, he lashes out, saying not to touch him. I'm not gonna go into why, but there's a very good reason why Guts doesn't like to be touched, that the anime understandably skipped. Guts is walking around listening to some new job is, but then a few bandits come to take his spoils. They didn't realize that Guts is the main character and get destroyed immediately. One of the commanders of the group comes in to stop Guts, and it's revealed to be a woman named Casca. Before Guts can take her out and ruin the plot, the leader of the gang, known as the Band of the Hawks, show up. Enter Griffith, the man who did nothing wrong. Griffith pokes Guts in the arm and knocks him out.
Black eyes.
Okay.
After almost getting canceled, Guts wakes up at the Band of the Hawks camp, a mercenary group full of teenagers and young adults, which sounds just like every anime ever. Griffith takes Guts somewhere quiet. After witnessing him teabag Bazuso, Griffith says he wants Guts to do the same to him by joining the Band of the Hawk. Guts refuses and decides to settle things the only way he knows how. If Guts wins, then we get the good ending. If Griffith wins, then we get the canonical bad ending, with Guts joining the Band of the Hawk. Guts and Griffith fight. The battle is completely one-sided, with Griffith not taking a single hit. Ultimately, Griffith wins, and so now Guts belongs to Griffith as a member of the Hawks, and everyone is very excited.
Kill him, Griffith!
I hope you drop dead in battle.
The Band of the Hawk proceed with their next mission. They are tasked by the Midland army to launch a surprise attack and burn the supplies of the opposing forces. The plan goes into motion. They kill a few soldiers and burn the supplies. The remaining enemy soldiers follow them.
This is a disgrace! Why are we left sitting up here as they are defeated by mercenaries?
One thing I want to note is that Sean Schimmel, the voice of Goku, plays a lot of characters in Berserk. Alright, we finalized who's voicing who. Mark, you'll be Guts, God bless your soul. Kevin, you'll be Griffith, fuck you by the way. Carrie, you'll be Casca, and Sean, you'll be literally everybody else.
The Hawks celebrate their victory while Guts is alone watching the moonlight. Judo, Ricket, and Pippin come bring Guts to join in on the celebration. At first he's not into it, but eventually he starts to warm up to everyone. A man draws his sword to protect the small wound deep in his heart. This sentence represents Guts' character to a T. The only thing he has ever felt comfortable around was his sword. Since the age of 6, Guts usually sleeps by his blade and has ever only known how to use a sword. The Band of the Hawk for Guts is a welcome change in his life. The next morning, Judo tells Guts that Griffith wants to see him.
Would you care to join me?
Maybe watching Berserk wasn't a good idea.
Kid!
Missed me!
Please, my good sirs, I could really use some water. Me and my family are dying of thirst. I'll drink your piss, just give me something.
Once they drain the water supply, Guts notices a strange amulet on Griffith's neck, and Griffith tells Guts that he got it from a strange fortune teller who called it the Egg of the King. He who possesses it will be able to rule the world in exchange for their...
But I don't really know how it's supposed to work.
Are we really just gonna ignore that? The egg is alive. Griffith is evil.
Griffith says that his dream is to have his own kingdom someday, to go from the life of a poor commoner to the highest status of royalty. Griffith is a mysterious phenomenon, purposely being drawn as an androgynous character to further emphasize his hidden motives and true nature. To many, he's seen as someone beyond human or not of this earth, someone who can achieve anything because he deserves it. Later, the Band of the Hawk go on their next mission, to siege the enemy's base. On the way, Guts thinks back to his past, a flashback in a flashback. Back when Guts lived with his adoptive father Gambino, he was always treated harshly, being seen as nothing but a curse. Gambino became bloodthirsty after he was crippled in an accident. One night, he went into Guts' hut planning to kill him. Guts kills Gambino in self-defense, and when the other bandits arrive, they believe Guts purposely killed Gambino and tried to kill him. Thankfully, Guts escapes, and we get a very beautiful panel of Guts staring at the stars above. This is another great thing about Berserk. All the action in it is really cool and badass, but these quiet scenes of the characters staring into the distance and reflecting on all that's happened in their lives is always breathtaking. Back to the current flashback, the Band of the Hawks succeed in their mission, then 3 years later are tasked with fighting the Black Rams. Guts decides to 1v1 the whole army, but Griffith and the Hawks show up in time to help. The Black Rams retreat. At the Kingdom of Midland, Griffith is being knighted by the king for their deeds, and so the Band of the Hawk go from odd job mercenaries to official knights of a kingdom, putting Griffith one step closer to his goal. With this, the Band of the Hawk are now a part of the 100-year war between Midland and Tudor. How can you be angry for that long? The Hawks proceed with their next mission of capturing one of Tudor's supply bases that's being controlled by Eggman.
You can't fool me, you emerald snatchers! Shut up, you cretin!
They proceed with the mission and everything's going fine, but Guts notices that Eggman set fire to the supply base, then runs away. Despite their failure, the Band of the Hawk continue with their next mission to siege one of Tudor's castles.
Man, Berserk has been pretty good, but nothing's really grabbed my attention so far. We need something to spice it up, like demons and mystical elements. I feel like that would really get things going.
Guts and his team manage to handle the enemies outside, but for 2 whole hours, they fail to capture the castle because of one soldier. Guts decides to go in alone to see what all the fuss is about. What Guts sees is nothing but a nightmare. The walls and floor painted with the blood of his allies. He hears a scream and goes to check it out, and finds the cause of the nightmare. Nosferatu Zodd, the god of war. Zodd the Immortal is a one-man army. A warrior who's said to have been around for over 100 years, he's known no equal on the battlefield. Despite the overwhelming odds, Guts fights Zodd. He can barely match his strength, but thanks to his goofy-ass weapon, he manages to survive. With cunning, Guts manages to wound Zodd, being the only person to ever hit him in the past 300 years. Zodd decides to get serious and digivolve into his true form. The fight goes from hard mode to Dokapon Kingdom levels of bullshit. Guts is terrified at Zodd's true form and new levels of strength, far surpassing any human. Low diff for Krillin though. Before Zodd can kill Guts, Griffith and his men come to help give Zodd more people to kill. Griffith and Guts manage to wound Zodd. Unfortunately, Zodd is into that shit. He goes to kill Griffith, but notices the egg of the king around his neck. Zodd laughs and decides to leave, but gives Guts a warning of his fate to come. When you regard one another as brother, and this man's ambitions crumble, then it is your destiny to face your death.
These are some really morbid fortune cookies.
Zodd leaves and the rest of the Hawks show up to see how everyone is doing.
It's your fault. You put Griffith in danger. You almost got him killed. It's because of you!
I'm sorry, did you see all your friends die and then have to fight an unstoppable demonic creature that literally just told you you're fated to die soon?
The Hawks make it back to Midland. Guts and Griffith talk about their battle with Zodd, and the king arrives with his brother, Count Julius, to congratulate their efforts. They meet Charlotte, the princess of Midland, who naturally fancies Griffith. Night falls, and Guts is confused on why Griffith would go so far for him. Unaware of what to do with his life, Guts decides that for now, he'll swear his loyalty to Griffith.
No!
The next day, Eggman is preparing for Midland's next assault on their stronghold. While Griffith's team screams at the enemy for 5 minutes, Guts' gang do the old Trojan horse technique and attack from the back. While the Hawks gain momentum, Eggman decides to pull a strategic retreat, causing the Hawks to win and gain the stronghold in the name of Midland.
To give us ample time to regroup. Is your minuscule brain even capable of recognizing the importance of that fortress?
That's not voice acting. Dude is just genuinely angry and they happen to record it.
Back at Midland, the king gives Griffith the Employee of the Month award as Count. The king's brother Julius is envious of Griffith's rise to fame and how much respect everyone gives him despite being of common birth. Minister Foss informs Julius of his plan to get rid of Griffith during the annual fall hunt event by the hands of a stray poisonous arrow. The fall hunt begins, and it's lame as fuck. Just a bunch of royals hunting one fox for like 5 hours. Julius's plan falls into motion. A random boar passes by Princess Charlotte, who gets all flustered and runs off. Griffith goes to grab her, and the assassin follows behind. Griffith manages to grab her. They both laugh at the situation and head back. A miracle occurs! Griffith lives thanks to the bayonet blocking the arrow. Everyone leaves the scene not knowing who framed Roger Rabbit, but when Griffith looks at Julius, all the pieces start to come together. Later that night, Guts goes to Griffith, who wants to talk to him.
I want to ask you to kill a man for me.
So you didn't want to free all the gorillas and then start an uprising. Great.
While Griffith is at a party, our Dark Knight begins his quest to kill Julius for attempting to assassinate his sugar daddy. Guts comes across Julius, who's training his son Adonis, taking out all his aggressions about Griffith on his son, and reminds Guts of his times with Gambino.
It's okay, guys. Adonis will become a much more important character later on. These fucking idiots have no clue.
Julius is back in his chambers, and after whining like a baby about Griffith, he notices a strange man in his room, charging at him. Once he realizes who it is, Julius, the next in line for the throne, is dead. Adonis comes in to check the noise, and without hesitation, Guts gives Adonis the biggest paper cut of his life.
Hey, I'm here.
Do you know how fucked up that'd be if someone stabs you in the chest, then tries to console you as you're dying? Thanks, Guts. I feel so much better.
Now, just like me in every stealth mission, Guts fails to be sneaky and aggroes all the guards. He barely escapes the scene. Naturally feeling like dog shit for killing a kid, Guts goes to see Griffith to tell him how it went. Casca stops Guts because Griffith is talking to Princess Charlotte. Charlotte mentions her displeasure for war and doesn't understand why men risk their lives so much for their ideals. Griffith believes that a person's dreams represents their whole reason for living. Men will risk their lives for a chance of accomplishing their goals, no matter how big or small. Griffith feels that a true friend is someone who's just as passionate and independent about their own goals as he is. To him, that's what makes someone a true friend and his equal. This is Guts' turning point as a character. His entire life, all he's known is battle, and never knew what else to do with his life. Before, he wanted to dedicate his sword to Griffith's cause. But now, Guts wants to find his own goal to strive for, so one day he can be on equal grounds with Griffith as his true friend. Morning arrives, and the Band of the Hawk prepare for their next battle. The band is assigned with taking on Tudor's Blue Whales, led by Eggman. All of a sudden, though, Casca starts to feel under the weather.
Casca, the only woman of the group, is starting to feel under the weather, but all the guys are fine? I wonder what could be wrong.
The battle commences, and Eggman goes for Casca. Eggman starts to say a lot of anti-gender equality stuff and tries to kill her. Thankfully, Guts arrives and sends Eggman to horny jail. When Guts goes to grab Casca, Eggman shoots an arrow at Guts, which causes both of them to fall off the cliff. Guts and Casca survive and seclude in a small cave, waiting for the rain to stop. Guts and Casca are on the move to reunite with the Band of the Hawk. Casca still isn't feeling too well, though. Lord Eggman and his men of 100 soldiers find them and attack. Guts fights them off and tells Casca to leave since she isn't feeling too well.
I promised to bring back reinforcements!
She won't bring back reinforcements.
And so, Guts fights 100 soldiers, all by himself. The next morning, Casca arrives with Judo and other members of the Hawk, only to find Guts napping in the forest surrounded by 100 corpses. Xbox achievement unlocked. They bring Guts back to base, and Casca isn't sure what to do for Guts as thanks.
Give this to the big guy for slaying 100 men.
Drugs are always the solution, kids.
Casca uses the fairy dust to heal Guts' wounds. Then they talk on a cliff looking down at the camp. Guts doesn't feel like he belongs with the Hawks. They all have goals to strive for, and to them, Griffith is the fire that they put their hopes into. For Guts, he's confused and unsure of what to do beyond fighting, but he wants something to live for, like everyone else. Then Griffith comes back, and they all celebrate at the Campfire of Dreams. The White Tiger Knights of Midland are fighting Tudor's strongest forces, the Purple Rhinos, led by General Boscan. Are we sure this isn't the Super Bowl with these names? The White Tigers are no match, and so the Band of the Hawk take action. This is the final battle. But not the final episode. The playoffs between the White Hawks and Purple Rhinos begins. Guts fights General Boscan. Meanwhile, Casca and a smaller team sneak inside the castle, but are greeted by Eggman, who saw this coming. Both Guts and Casca have a hard time with their foes, but Casca remembers her gymnastics training and cracks the egg for good. During Guts' battle, his sword breaks, and just before Boscan can deliver the final blow, a random Nosferatu-sized demon sword comes towards him. He grabs it and takes down the general. Ah, not the horse too! After 100 years, Midland has finally won. Back at the castle, word gets out about the Hawks' victory. All the nobles are pissed and don't want some lowly commoner to keep rising in royalty, so they plan to poison Griffith at the next party. And the Queen is in on it too. The Hawks come back and are paraded by the entire kingdom for ending the war. The party begins in honor of the Hawks. Guts sees Casca all dressed up and is speechless by her beauty, as he's never seen her in anything other than armor. Or naked. The king arrives to promote the White Hawks as commanding officers of the Midland Army. They have now become nobles, putting Griffith another step closer to his goal. The drinks are passed around to everyone, with the poisonous drink being given to Griffith. Griffith drinks it and then collapses. The nobles and queen celebrate their success on killing Griffith. When Faust leaves the room, everyone realizes they forgot to turn on the AC, and the place starts to catch on fire. They try to escape, but to no avail. The queen looks outside and notices Griffith watching this go down. He was fully aware that people were trying to kill him and had the poisonous drink replaced with a narcotic that would put him in a near-death state. The queen dies, and not a whole lot of people care. Must have been a huge bitch. The next morning, it begins to snow, and Guts heads out to discover his own path. Guts says his goodbyes to Judo and Corcus. Corcus basically tells Guts to die in a ditch like any normal friend would, but asshole Judo tells Guts to follow his dreams and even ask out Casca. God, fuck that guy, am I right? Guts heads out, but all the core members of the Hawks arrive to see him off, including Griffith. And Griffith is not happy about his boy toy leaving him. They'll end it just like it started, with a duel. If Guts wins, he'll leave, but if Griffith wins, then Guts will stay. Although Griffith plans to kill Guts. If he can't have him, then his life is forfeit. Opposite to last time, Griffith is the one to take action. Guts simply swings down his sword and breaks Griffith's weapon, winning the duel. Griffith's mind is completely shattered as he just sits down in disbelief. Guts walks away, and we get my favorite quote in the entire show. "You're going to be all right. You just stumbled over a stone on the road. It means nothing. Your goal lies far beyond this, doesn't it? I'm sure you'll overcome this. You'll walk again. Soon." Griffith doesn't handle the breakup very well and decides to take his frustrations out on his sloppy seconds. Griffith barges into Charlotte's room and begins the lovemaking, but it's completely one-sided. Griffith is emotionless and empty, hoping to feel something to get over the loss of his true lover. After the per-usual 15 seconds of fun, Griffith heads out before anyone can find him, but is greeted by soldiers who plan to arrest Griffith for what he did to the princess. 1 year later, and a tournament is being held full of strong warriors.
Oh, hell yeah. Guys, we're about to see Salat in action. Trust me, you're gonna love this.
Guts cuts in on the festivities, takes down one of the contenders, then leaves.
Okay, alright. Slightly different from the manga, but I promise you, Salat is gonna be here any second now.
Guts has been staying over a blacksmith's house named Godot and his daughter/assistant, Erica. A man comes by to ask Godot to make weapons for hunting some runaway mercenaries led by a female soldier. The Hawks are camping at night, all badly wounded from their last scrap, with their numbers slowly dwindling. Another band of mercenaries attack the Hawks. Casca is ambushed by a random soldier, but then Guts comes to the rescue. Where the fuck is Solo? With Guts finally here, the Hawks take down the enemy raiders and explain the situation. When Griffith was arrested for what he did to Charlotte, the king wanted the Hawks dead. It's not brought up in the anime, but the king's true intentions came to light. He secretly wanted to be Charlotte's first and only. Casca talks to Guts alone and mentions how she's mad that Guts left. She feels overwhelmed and unsure of what to do anymore, so she attempts to take her own life. Guts stops her, and after a few seconds, they embrace. And when they look into each other's eyes, they realize just how much they truly love each other.
There may be a place for me in this man's soul. Not
Oh,
because
God.
of what I may receive, but for something of worth.
After the 45 minutes of lovemaking, Guts mentions how he'll help rescue Griffith, but still wants to pursue his own path. He asks Casca to come with him once this is all over. She calls him a sussy baka, and they embrace once more. When they come back to the Hawks, they march towards Midland with the goal of rescuing Griffith. After an entire year of torture, Griffith's flames have died out. He sees strange visions of otherworldly beings calling out to him, telling him they'll meet again soon as brothers in arms. When the Hawks find Griffith, all they see is a once beautiful bird now on the brink of death. The light of the Hawks is slowly fading away. They grab Griffith, fight off some Midland soldiers, and escape. After fleeing from Midland soldiers, the band of the Hawk is confused on what to do next. Meanwhile, Griffith is alone in a carriage and has a vision of his former self who reminds him of his goal to own a kingdom, that he must not stop until he's achieved his dreams. Griffith takes the carriage and drives off, solely focused on chasing his vision. Guts and Casca follow. Carriage flips over, and when Griffith gets up, his arm is completely broken. He lets out a weak laugh at his own misfortune and attempts to take his own life, but he fails. When he feels like all hope is lost, he notices the crimson baylet at his hands and thinks back to what the fortune teller told him. Everything goes dark, and when the Hawks catch up to Griffith, they notice strange figures are lurking in the distance. When Guts goes to Griffith's side, the shapes of the egg form into a face, and it lets out a monstrous roar. The eclipse has begun. The Hawks have been transported to some otherworldly plane that can only be best described as hell. Then 4 powerful demons, known as titties, I mean the God Hand, emerge. Void, the leader, tells everyone that they've all been summoned to become sacrifices for the 5th member of the God Hand. And that person is none other than Griffith. The God Hand show Griffith his past and fated future, that all the people who've died under Griffith are all just stepping stones towards his ambitions. In order to finally reach his kingdom, he's gonna need more sacrifices. Griffith thinks back to the one man who's ruined his dream. The one person he believed would help betrayed him. And so Griffith submits to the God Hand's will. Void then marks all the Hawks with a symbol called the Brand of Sacrifice. This mark is a sacrificial symbol. Demons will all hunt them down until they die for Griffith's ambitions. The eclipse is hell on Earth. One by one, the Hawks die at the hands of thousands of demons, unable to fight back. There truly is no escape. Death is the only option.
I know what'll save the day. Just play the song Forces. That always fixes everything. Yeah, that's not gonna work this time.
Corcus dies, Pippin dies, Gaston dies. Judo tries his best to keep Casca safe, but to no avail. We learn that Judo secretly has feelings for Casca, and before he dies, says his final goodbye.
You cry a lot when you're alone, don't you, Casca? Is that it? Are these really my last words?
It gets me every time.
All the demons surround Casca and prepare to kill her. Guts is beyond rage-filled. It's hard to describe the hatred and betrayal he feels right now. Unfortunately, a demon bites his arm, unable to move. Before Casca dies, Griffith sheds his final tear of humanity and awakens. Griffith is no more. Femto, the 5th member of the God Hand, is born. He grabs the unconscious Casca and proceeds to ruin her while staring at Guts the entire time, like a hawk watching its prey. Guts does everything he can to break free, even going so far as to cut his arm off with a broken blade. As he charges at Femto, cursing Griffith's name, he's stopped by 2 more demons that stab his eye out. Guts lets out a mighty scream, and everything fades to white. We come back to see Guts at Goto's house. After finishing his sword, he heads out into the Red Abyss, with one thought on his mind: to kill Griffith. This is the story of the Eternal Struggler and his golden betrayal. The end.
And that's the end of the golden age of Berserk. Berserk is truly a sight to behold. It's action-packed, emotional, inspiring, and just looks amazing. I would highly recommend anyone to read Berserk. Not just because the 90s anime skips a bunch of stuff, but because reading Berserk is truly a one-of-a-kind experience. Thank you, Miura, for what you have created. Your story will forever be etched in the hearts of many, including myself. Thank you, and may you rest in peace.